Highway Commissioner Bob Ford.
Okay, can I get approval on the minutes for the board, the monthly board meeting from, October?
I so move.
Second.
Approving?
Under 7, that means the one is spoken.
I told her that, I corrected that. Is it still?
Is it still correct?
It's still wrong on my copy. Yes.
Yes. it
Okay, I
is.
will correct that, as corrected. Okay, I'm sorry, who moved it?
Kathy?
And then
Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, trustees DeGrow and trustee
Got
Gilmore.
it.
The
Um,
does.
Trustee Delmar?
Here, or,
Aye.
aye.
Trustee McNeil?
Aye.
Trustee Larson?
Aye.
Trustee DeGrow?
Aye.
Supervisor Rush?
Here. Oh, aye.
See, you're good.
And we also have the,
Committee of the whole meeting from September 30th. Can I get a motion to approve those? Second?
Second.
Approving?
Trustee Larson?
Aye.
Trustee DeGrow?
Aye.
Trustee Delmar?
Aye.
Trustee McNeil?
Aye.
Supervisor Rush?
Aye. All right, is there any public participation on the agenda items?
Nice idea. Douglas Starr Williams, so I really want to thank you guys for taking up the credit card policy. I hope we get to the point where we prevent abuses as we saw in this last election. It's very important not to usurp the authority of the trustees. You guys have to be involved in expenditures. The other part is, with the town levy, I'd like to see us get to the point where the emergency aid in the general aid fund is not rolled over. There's a lot of needy families that are, go without. We really need to market these programs and not have rollover of those line items. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, hearing none?
I have a comment on the agenda.
Sure.
I requested items 10, 11, and 11. to
Oh,
be
I'm sorry.
12. That's all right. In an email on the 13th, and I asked them to be listed as action items, and they are not on here as action items. So I just wanted to express that I have it in writing. So I'm disappointed that they're not listed as action.
Okay, but it needs to be discussed before,
Yeah, discussion and approval, like for the survey, is what I was expecting. It was in the same email.
All right. Thank you. All right, you have, it's time for my report. I don't have a written one, but I do have my verbal one. You do have a copy of all of my regular reports. In addition, as per requested, you will also find in this packet a copy of our phone calls for the, but there's a copy
yeah.
of our phone calls. And you can see how many phone calls we've taken for this just started October, it was mid-October. So by mid-October, we had 252 phone calls, and they are listed as such. You can see the bulk of our phone calls came on Wednesday. And the majority of our phone calls come through about just general emergency and general assistance and emergency assistance phone calls. This second one is the food pantry hours. And then third, of course, is our bus trips. We are working on if we need to add any other things, but when I was looking over the list that she gave me, there was really not more than like 2 of something otherwise this list would be 20, several pages long. So under other, it was a lot of general questions.
Yeah, I did make a note that I really appreciated this. It really does show us where people are asking questions. And Lupe had informed me that it's not even for the whole month.
No,
So
it's not.
that's huge
Yeah, it's only half.
compared to the walk-ins.
Yes. Other than that, we're going to hear in a few minutes from, West Insurance and, oh, there's Joe. Hi. And we're going to hear from them, and, I think that's all I have right now. That's it. Now we are up to Highway Commissioner.
Thanks.
Report.
So this month, most of our energy this month is devoted to, in October, November, is devoted to getting winter equipment ready. So just so everybody knows, everything's ready for winter, all the trucks are, all the winter equipment's installed, all the trucks have gone through their usual tune-ups, and everything's repaired to be done to that, so we're ready to go for winter. We actually had our liquid delivered this past month, the organic liquid and our calcium blend we apply to the roads. And then we had a Lakeshore Drive, what we had happen was a storm sewer project that was done, I'd say about 5-6 years ago. One of the main lines for it, when they installed that main line, they had to reroute the sanitary sewer service, and in this last year it's settled, and it actually crushed the residents' sanitary sewer line, their service line. They started calling me and saying they had it rotted a bunch of times, so we went out there and had a located, went out there, did a little exploration, and found out that our storm sewer had settled down on their sewer, so we rerouted the sewer, we did all the repairs, and everything's fine. Residents happy, there was no damage done to the house, but we took care of everything. And then we had the tree replacement program. We took down a number of trees when we did that project on North Circle and Lake Avenue, so we had, I think about 10 trees or so planted last weekend. Same day as the recycling event. They're putting that voided area there, so they just moved up. It's gonna be really nice when it comes up, so we picked trees that would blend in with the surrounding existing trees, so when it all fills out, it'll all just blend right in really nice. Yeah. And then, everybody knows we had the electronic collection last weekend. 13 skids of electronics, I was hoping for a little more, but, it sounds like a lot, but, I think the fact that, a lot of the surrounding villages have permanent locations now where you can go and drop off electronics, during the week is gonna start bringing these special events down a little bit. But 13 skids is still 13 skids of electronics that don't make it to the landfill, so I'm happy about that. We'll be doing it again next year. And I'm working on next year's construction projects, the estimates, so I can have my budget ready to go. We're doing Thorson and Nielsen, I think we talked about that before. We have I brought it up to Jerry, but we're widening Nielsen. Nielsen right now is about less than a lane and a half wide for safety reasons and for obvious reasons. We're going to widen the road about what we have. So we have a residential well in our right of way that's been there since the beginning of time. So we're going to need to move that well. I had some estimates done, and it's going to be about $6,000 to move that well. But the deal is the residents don't have the money. I'm going to work with them to see if they will take in partnership with us to defray the cost of the township a little bit, but the road needs to be widened. It's really a safety issue right now because fire trucks, the road, if you've ever driven down Nielsen, you can't see down the road. Because of a real big and wide as a telephone pole, it's kind of right in the way. So we have actually 4 poles that will be moved for that construction project. We'll work on the easements right now with the homeowners to get that done. And on that same project, on my report there, it says we're getting a $5,000 CDBG grant, but that's actually $85,000, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
That's just a numerical error there, so as long as we start on time next year, that grant's ours, so we will be starting on time.
Perfect.
So, okay?
Thank you.
Assessor is on here, he did not submit a report, however, I do have one small thing to add to my report. Lisa Vargas has requested that if anybody would like to volunteer on the food pantry on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, she is thinking of staying open a little bit later because it might be a little bit busy because they're gonna be closed for 4 days. Well, 2 of those days are weekends that they're normally closed anyway, but if anybody would like to volunteer, or if you'd like to get a group together to volunteer, they are looking for volunteers on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Do you have hours for that, Lisa?
She will open up at 9, they close at 12, reopen at 1, and then they'll be open till, I believe she said 7. Normally they close at 4, but I think she's gonna be open till 7 that night. And Clerk Kirby?
You have a report in your packet, for the clerk's office. Found it? Thanks. Have too many papers. Basically, I've given you some information. You've gotten the FOIA report and also the report for the volunteers. We've received 2 new FOIAs since my last report. One has been completed and the second has not been filled. Assessor is refusing access to the documents for that report. And I just had one on my desk, so now I have a third one, which will be the next report. That's also attached to the assessor's office. The township volunteer report. It actually, as much as sometimes this can be a headache, but it's really a pleasure to see people that, even if they have to volunteer, that they, pursue it, and they generally turn out to be good participants for us. We only have one that we've not accepted. We have a couple pending. I have, the one for 300 hours is a professional man. He's a jack of all trades. He does home repairs and all kinds of things. The trouble is that he works every day, so during normal hours, he's working. So I'm gonna be talking to Supervisor Rush regarding if there's something we can do to give him some hours on the weekend with repairing, like for instance, maybe caulking the windows, since the windows are a big issue for us, doing some simple repairs around the office to get him his hours that he needs. So we're still working on that. The food pantry isn't gonna work out for him. The records, I gave you a little bit of update on the records. We had a very nice visit from the state regarding our records. We have a lot to do. We've been fighting it a little bit at a time and making sure that they're in order. I was just showing Supervisor Rush that we have a box. We have more than one. I wish it was just one box that says really old files. Well, that's not a legal file, so we have to go through and we have to actually go through every single piece of paper and put it where it belongs and do the proper documentation if it's able to be destroyed or not. The highway department has been very diligent to clean up the tons of old records that have been housed at the garage, for lack of a better term, in the highway department's office. So we've been moving right ahead on that. I have not done anything with the deputy clerk's position for obvious reasons, but we will. And I did give you a brief update on the sessions that I attended for the TOI boot camp. It was well worth it. I appreciate you all sending me and getting that done.
Okay, thank you. Clerk's reports, we have a report from.
Lisa, one thing, real quick, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I just want to thank, I put in my report, but I want to thank the village of Haynesville sent over a couple employees to help with the recycling events. I just wanted to, on the record, say thank you to Linda and the village of Haynesville for doing that.
Excellent. Oh, and on that same note, I would like to thank Bob's crew. I don't know if anybody noticed earlier in the end of October, we had somebody decided that our garage doors were a little bit too plain and they decided to be artistic on them.
Good point.
Doing nicely. And we called the village of Round Lake because they supposedly cover something like that up and they didn't have anything for it. So we called Bob and they came up with something to cover it up, and then the next day we had somebody really cover it up so that you can't even tell that it was there. Unfortunately, it wasn't just us. It isn't original artwork. Ours is one of 3, so. But it is gone now, so you can't see. But thank you to Tony and Anthony for covering that up.
They didn't sign their work, did they?
We did not, and sadly, we couldn't even see who did it on the cameras. Kathy or Chris, want to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, I provided all of you with a copy of my report for today. That includes a number of recommendations and at least some starting draft positions for some of the items we'll be talking about tonight, the donation policy, credit cards, and the prepaid bills, along with some thoughts on the levy. I did have an opportunity to attend the TOI conference with Trustee DeGrow and Clerk Kirby. So everybody's aware I was only able to attend for Sunday evening and Monday's session. I was unable to attend on Tuesday due to a personal conflict on my schedule. I did find everything to be extremely valuable and informative. I did meet with a number of the vendors that were there. There's a couple that I was going to follow up with so I can provide some more comprehensive information to the board, for some future discussion. As I wasn't able to attend the Tuesday session, I'm going to opt out of my per diem request and stipend for that trip. I feel that, as I was unable to attend and cost the township some money on that Tuesday, I shouldn't be taking any of that additional reimbursement funds, so we'll be voting on that later tonight.
Okay.
Also, the Finance Committee hasn't had an opportunity to meet since September, but I'm hoping to have one of those forthcoming December 10th, so we can start ramping up for the budget. I would like to petition the board, just in general, not as an action item for tonight, to consider establishing a regular meeting of the committee prior to our regular meetings, holding those at perhaps 6 o'clock at night prior to our regular board meetings, so we have an opportunity to put that sort of in concrete on the calendar. Thanks.
Trustee DeGrow?
My report on TOI, which is Township Officials of Illinois conference, is in the packet. I also worked on the residence survey, which hopefully this might be the final version that I present tonight. I want to thank Clerk Kirby for meeting with me a couple times, and staff and Supervisor Rush gave me feedback. So I appreciate that. This month was a hard month as far as communication goes. I would like to repeat the request when we had a prolonged Supervisor Rush had a prolonged absence this summer. I had requested, and it was, I thought, general consensus that if there was prolonged absences, that the trustees would be notified. That did not happen, and I repeatedly came to the office, and the supervisor wasn't here from November 4th through the 14th. Now, she conveyed to me it was health-related, and that she basically said I didn't have to know.
I didn't say you didn't have to know in that email.
So I asked to be included, and you didn't say that you would include. So I wanted to make it public that I'm requesting again, if there's prolonged absences, that the board be aware of them, because communication regarding the survey concerning the conference did not get completed because we had no contact. And you're very important to our board. So I, once again, ask that you tell us when you're gonna be out of the office for more than a day or two.
Can I just add something to my report? Jerry, you need to be nervous because I got an official deputy lawyer badge from attending the legal conference on how to protect against litigation, and I have a book.
I have a few questions for you.
If there are no other reports, I thank everybody for their reports. We'll go on to bill payments. We have I get a motion to approve the prepaid bills.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second that.
All right. Or is there any discussion?
Yes, check number 18343 made payable to myself, requesting that be voided and removed.
Okay.
And, no, that wouldn't be, I asked to, be charged for the 1 day per diem, which I did not use. I'm sorry, clerk.
It was,
But it's not in here.
when we were figuring it out, we didn't include Sunday on there, and you did leave on Sunday, so it's kind of a wash, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Curious why. Are they just under prepaid because they were approved last month?
Yes.
Yes.
Those could probably be just under the regular.
Bookkeeper. Any other discussion on any of the prepaid? All right, we already have a first and a second.
Trustee DeGrove,
Aye.
trustee Delmar, trustee McNeil, trustee Larson,
Aye.
supervisor Rush,
Aye. Motion carried. All right, now we have the outstanding bills. Can I get a motion to approve the outstanding bills?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Can I get a roll call?
trustee DeGrove,
Aye.
trustee Delmar, trustee McNeil, trustee Larson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, next up, we have West Insurance. All of the trustees should have a little email and a little type of packet from them. And we have Jeff West and Mr. Jeff,
Right.
yes, I know. Yeah, I was looking at Mr. West at the same time and combining the two of you. And Mr. West here to discuss this. Feel free.
Thank you, Lisa. We're here to discuss the December 1st, 2013 property casualty insurance renewal for the township. The coverage is currently with the Illinois County's Risk Management Trust, who insured the township going back about 18 months ago. The data utilized for the 2013 proposal was based on budgeted payrolls, expenses, and revenues for the township. We did put the insurance out to market, and I think included in the packet, there were several email responses from 5 separate insurance companies, all stating that they couldn't improve upon the coverage that the Illinois County's Risk Management Trust currently has for the township, nor could they improve on the premium that the ICRMT is offering with their renewal this year. Back in August of this year, the ICRMT sent out a loss control and an appraisal to do appraisals on the township's buildings and contents coverage. They found that there was about a 40% higher values than the appraisal values. So basically what we did was I submitted some information. Chris and I met, and Lisa and I met, and David met to discuss the appraised values that the ICRMT had come up with. Again, they were about 40% higher, so we were overinsured. We decided to lower those values, and that went into the renewal for December 1st. If you look at the packet, the overall premium is down about 12%. The 2001 renewal premium is $57,350 versus expiring at $65,243. Obviously, the decrease in the property values had a slight role in the decrease in premium. The bulk of the premium decrease came from lower rates, basically for the workers' compensation. As you can see in my summary, the current estimated annual payroll is just over $700,000. Expiring or estimated payrolls for last year were $697,470. So there was a slight increase in the payrolls. Again, the bulk of the decrease in the premium came from a decrease in rate, in the overall rates for highway, for municipal employees, as well as clerical employees. So we feel that the renewal with the ICRMT is very competitive. It's the most competitive out there. They offer a very broad program, which includes coverage for your volunteers, which, as we know, and we've experienced
Right.
with the Toronto program, that was one of the reasons for the move 18 months ago. The Toronto program did not include coverage for volunteers. As you know, that we use a lot of volunteers here at the township, so. If the board or anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
One of the other
about it.
things was, what is our deductible? It's no longer 60,000, it is
It is, I believe, 10,000 on the
10,000 is
on the
our
employment
deductible.
practices liability.
So, yeah, and in the new email that you sent, we actually have the new premium.
Yes,
Right, so that is actually a 16% decrease
exactly.
with, the township paying only 54,694.
And that takes into effect when the appraisals were done in August. We decided to lower the values, the property values back in August. So that's basically going to catch us up because the township has already paid through December. It's retroactively going back and giving you that credit, so they're applying that to the premium going forward on December 1st.
Thank you very much. All right.
Sorry,
Any
quick question.
questions for Mr.?
Yeah, quick question. Listed under buildings, there's 0 Haynesville Road. Is that vacant land north of Washington or south?
I believe that is north of Washington. North of Washington. North of
Okay.
Washington.
And then, one of the questions I have regarding this is that, I believe we have at least a partial interest and ownership in, the Avon Township ball field, which is south of,
We don't.
was that divested?
It was never something that we were involved in. We've gone back and looked through the papers, but we don't have any,
I'll get you the stuff.
okay, because.
Going back to the original purchase agreement,
Yeah, I think it's been changed.
but I don't know if our liability extends out that far if something was to happen there, even though we're leasing the land out and not operating any program.
We would wanna list it as a property.
Yes,
So let's do some search on that, I guess.
Yeah, and the last time we were going through this, it was under the understanding that we did not have any in the ball field.
Yeah, I don't really know, I don't really, it's like a gray area to me, it's been there forever, and I thought we owned the whole thing, but we
We don't.
own a third of it, so I don't know.
The ball field is on Haynesville Road, just south of Washington, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
But it's something if the deed says we're on it, or whatever, that's something that should be addressed, that we have I don't think it was gonna cost us that much more to have liability insurance on there, and then.
Which is a follow-up, if we do indeed need to make a change to support that, is that something that would affect our renewal term, or is that something that could just be?
If it did, it would be very slightly, and very, very slightly.
Fair enough.
And we should also be listed as an additional insured on the 501c3 that's running it too, if we do have an interest in it.
Okay.
Running the ballpark?
Yeah. If we
Is
are.
that a 501c3 run then? I thought it was a park district.
I don't
No,
No, the park districts would be the other tenants in common that own the ball field.
it's an organization, and they operate in like a partnership with the park district, but it's their own baseball. It's their, like AYSO is ours, we run with the park district, but we're not with the park district.
So Jerry, I'm sorry, are you asking for them to provide proof of their insurance to us?
If we are owners of the property, I would like to be listed as an
Exactly.
additional insured on their policy.
That's what I was hoping that meant.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you very much. All right, and, any more discussion? All right, pending that, is there approval, we're gonna go for approval of the insurance renewal. Can I get a motion to approve the insurance renewal?
I so moved.
A second?
I'll second, and bring that.
Yes.
Please let me know. as
Yeah,
soon as
I
you-
will, because, yeah, I was under the impression that we didn't.
Sure.
Let's see, trustee Delmer,
Aye.
trustee McNeil, trustee Larson,
Aye.
trustee DeBroke,
Aye.
supervisor Rush.
Aye. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
very much,
Thank you.
Mr.
Have a good
West.
night.
Have a
Thank you.
great evening.
Okay.
Okay, the next on the agenda is the donation policy update. I'm sorry.
This is a copy of the email that I sent out November 13th, as soon as I returned back from the township officials conference, noting that auditors and attorneys in the field of township law were speaking on these this particular subject, credit cards and prepaid bills. And I immediately drew up this email asking that our present donation practices be suspended, dependent on Supervisor Rush developing a service contract-based system. And I would hope that it would be in place by adopted by our next meeting so we can continue. Basically, what we were advised is donations for events, for fundraisers, things that have tickets, that's a personal donation. That things that we enter in should have service contracts where the other group that we contract with gives quarterly reports on how many people are served. It's a much more,
Wasn't that what of the policy that we were drawing up was going to be based on?
the application, which I have a rough copy of the grant process, but it's not, that's just an application that a group would have. Carrie Lynn was supposed to send copies of sample service contracts. Did you receive one? I
I
requested
may have,
one.
I don't think I have one with me tonight, it's just a very generic sample service contract of,
I would love to see it, but
we'll get that forwarded
I
along.
mean, to stop all donation programs, you understand that most of the money that we give towards the food pantry, the electric, the gas bill that we're paying, is all donation right now, because it's not, the food pantry does not run under us, it runs under a 501c3. So that would mean stopping the salary to the employee there, and the insurance.
How is that? That
It's
looks like a
donation.
line item.
But it's a donation because it's not, the food pantry is not our food pantry.
It's never been presented as a donation.
No, but if you look at it that's a donation, why are we giving money to a food, why are we giving the money to that food pantry for salary items like that? Wouldn't it be,
Well, that would be a perfect place to have a service contract.
okay,
And they have in the past always given us a report of how many people they serve, and they restrict their services to Avon Township.
Which goes back to our other discussion over the food pantry, is that we have no agreement with them. So really, we're running until we have an agreement with them, which we need to be working out as well.
yes, so, that's one piece. But I will look into the service contract and I will have one ready for December's meeting.
Thank you.
Chris, you had submitted something towards the donation policy.
Yeah, I submitted a very long-winded response to this. Rather than going into great detail, because you all have written copies of this, I tend to split the difference between Trustee DeGrove and Supervisor Rush on this, is that we have a clear need to develop a donation policy that we can apply consistently across anybody that we choose to sponsor and contract with. We also have an ongoing obligation to provide the services that we've already extended to residents. Rather than necessarily terminate everything up front,
Right.
as our attorney has commented, we should continue to operate while trying to seek a clear and correct path to operating our food pantry, making sure that we have necessary contracts in place with anybody else that we serve, and making sure that we get all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed in an appropriate fashion as provided. As far as anything new, I would recommend that we don't entertain any new donations until that policy is in place.
Right, and I think the use of the word donation is probably
Yeah, probably a word we should be using is donation. One of the things about the, I don't know how you would wanna word it then, not a donation, non-donation thing, is what we're trying to do too, is trying not to duplicate services within the township. So if, an organization wants money for the seniors to attend a spaghetti supper, which I've already talked to the chamber about, you know, the Santa supper tickets, and she's more than willing to fill out an application and submit it, so that's not a problem. But we're trying not to duplicate the services within the township by, helping them out so that we, you know, helping them out.
We did approve, at our last meeting, we did approve that, so I don't see those as.
I know, I just brought that up as a
Example.
example, right.
So basically, the only funds that we have outstanding, just to clarify this, that have been requested and have not been delivered is family services, and we received a new
I
one
just
from.
received something from today from Mano a Mano.
So from family services and Mano Mano. The food pantry is a sticky situation, but it has been an ongoing partner of ours, though we don't have an official contract on file. I think given that it has been an ongoing partner of ours, I'd like the trustees to consider that that is a different situation than what we would consider under a donation or a grant or policy. Those are the only three items that are stated right now.
Then we can, is there any more discussion on the,
So will this be an item at our committee of the whole
an item on the committee of our whole, if you want,
agenda?
okay, you want the rough draft of what I'm going to have by the, do you realize committee of the whole is next Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I will try my hardest, I might have half of it done.
We can have a sample.
Okay, a sample will be fine.
Sample and work
All
on
right,
it.
a sample could be fine. All right. Any other discussion on that? Okay. The credit card policy discussion. You also all received as, an email from Assessor Bitten regarding this. And I know, Highway Commissioner Kula does not wanna give up his card either, so. No comment?
Yeah, I can't speak for Chris.
I'm not asking you to speak for Chris.
I can't, I'm in a little bit different environment over there. For the most part, my credit card sits there and collects dust.
Yeah,
There's situations that come up, emergency situations, and that's when it comes out, and that's basically the only time it comes out. Or if I need something from a vendor that I don't have an account with, but.
Okay, all right.
I
did see though, Bob, I will bring this up, I mean, Bob, you're doing a wonderful job in the highway department, let me start it with that first. But I did see on the credit card bill this month, water, 2 cases of water. That to me didn't qualify as an emergency.
Then I'll be happy to explain that.
Okay, go ahead.
Over the past, I think, 8 to 10 years now, we've been getting water delivered from,
Ice Mountain.
Ice Mountain.
Thank you. We were paying, after I looked at the bill, when I got in the office, I looked at the water bill and said, okay, we're paying over $7 a case for a case of water.
Oh.
And I said, no, that's not what I'm about. So I'll go over to Walmart with the credit card and I'll buy water for $2.50 a case. So that's my, I think everybody can agree that that's a justification to go use a credit card if I'm gonna save that kind of money on.
I was just, when I was looking at it, I'm like, 2
Yeah.
cases of water, okay.
Yeah, that's
All
why.
right.
Our water into.
You were getting it in bottles, some individual bottles? Oh, yeah, because you guys are not in the
And
office.
to further that, our water at the shop is not drinkable.
Okay,
That's not a slam on Haynesville Round Lake, it's probably on the age of our building.
all right.
The water's awful, so.
All right.
I'm not gonna deny the guys the water.
I wouldn't ask you to deny them water, I was just curious about that. That's it.
Trying to save money.
Okay, that's good. As I said, I think you're doing a wonderful job over there, so I just brought that up.
No problem.
Okay, in my office, I mean, we are down to everybody looking in their purses, wallets, and everything for stamps, so, I mean, it was down to today, we needed 4 stamps, and everybody was searching around, because normally when we need stamps, we use the credit card to go buy stamps. And we didn't use the credit card to go buy stamps. approved a bill so that we can go buy stamps, but, we are definitely working in the right direction as to not using the credit card for, as I said, frivolous reasons. Okay, and if it was something that we were going to add as the TOI or something like that, then I would get pre-approval before it was done.
Okay, so my email was, based on the information that I gathered at the conference, is the auditors and this particular law firm advises townships not to have any credit cards because they are easy to use and easy to abuse. And we have an example of that with the bill for our conference. Our conference travel was put on the credit card bill. I think if it was put on everybody's personal bills, a lot of refunds would have been done.
The conference itself was not put on the credit card. Your hotel bill was.
Okay.
The conference was actually paid for by check, because it's one of the checks that you, I believe, approved. So it was done as a check, and then paid, because we pre-approved it so that it could go, and so our meeting was held, I believe, the day that it was, the Monday after it was due, and I had called them in advance and told them we're approving this at our meeting on Monday, and they go, well, can't you just put it on your credit card and do this? And I says, no, I cannot. So, I did wait till the meeting, and we did write a check and immediately tell them it was going out.
Good, thank you, but we did suffer, unfortunately, even with the check, we did suffer a loss of like almost $460 for cancellation of, we had two people who couldn't, well, three of the attendees didn't, one didn't attend a day, and another one didn't attend a day. And the dinners, because of the reservations for the hotels, the dinners were not attended either, which were $45 a head.
That's part of your wash, so, but I will let you know,
And how did the hotel turn out?
you know what, I looked at that email, and it does say that you're leaving on Wednesday. I'll be happy to show it to you.
No, I was asking, wondering about your,
Hotel, it was canceled.
good,
Okay,
okay,
so please read that as well.
sure.
If you wanna make it public, you can, but I'm not. Okay?
She's personally reimbursing the township for the mistaken booking.
It wasn't a mistake, I was planning on attending, something just happened. All right, any other discussion on the credit card policy?
No, we have the other.
Oh, yeah, we have the other half. Go ahead.
Again, I did provide a one-page summary here with my opinions. I also included, and we'll provide a copy to the attorney tonight for review as well, a draft document for discussion purposes, establishing a credit card issuance policy. This is based on a number of other townships throughout Illinois who do have policies in place, including one of our neighbors, Palatine.
Palatine, Washington, Peru, Pekin, is that how you pronounce it?
Beacon.
Bourbonnais, Sugar Grove, Thornton, Macomb, although is Macomb the one with that woman with the horses?
No, that's Dixon.
Okay, Macomb and St. Clair. So just Googling township credit card policy, these popped up immediately. So we aren't the only ones. that
Also,
have
Michigan uses
Okay.
the township style of government and also has credit card
But
policies.
it's almost impossible to run any
Right.
sort of corporation or business today without a credit card.
Right.
You do need a strict policy, though, and you need to adhere to the guidelines that you set forth in the
Yes.
policy and watch those, and that's what you guys are for, is you
Right.
audit the bills, you need to audit those every month, and which you guys have been doing a great job of.
Pass this over to you real quick.
However, the credit cards are prepaid bills.
Part of this policy, as it's been construed here, states specifically that credit cards should not be prepaid,
The only thing that you're
with the
running
exception
into-
of any time a trustee or the trustees would vote in advance to allow for prepayment for large expenditure items like hotel bookings in order to avoid finance charges.
Right,
But those are known quantifiable items.
I will, okay. I'm sorry.
It also has things in there that are general controls for things like Okay, it's reasonable to go buy postage on a credit card and be able to get it done because you don't have petty cash laying around the office. Having a credit card is more secure than petty cash. That is also another point that came out of the presentation. At least there is some way to go back and fight charges, reverse charges, and you know, where there's issues. You know, it's not unreasonable for each particular office to have credit cards. There's certainly good reasons for having them. There's certainly necessary reasons for having them. It's making sure that there's a formal policy, that employees and officials conform to those appropriate policies where necessary to make sure that they're used in a responsible fashion, as our attorney has recommended as well. There's also, as you know, our highway commissioner has said and our assessor has said, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second about our assessor. His correspondence to this board regarding the township credit card policy, threatening litigation is absolutely ridiculous on a discussion point. I will quote from the email: "If the township credit card is canceled, or if my ability to use the township credit card is restricted, or if the board attempts to interfere with the operations of my office in any way, I will retain counsel and enforce my legal rights as assessor as set forth in the Illinois Property Tax Code, and I will seek judicial determination that such board action is illegal." This is not the first time the assessor has threatened this board over a discussion item, and I'm really upset by that. However, he had some additional things in there regarding statutes as to what we can and cannot do, and he's not incorrect. We cannot restrict his ability to use a credit card. We also don't have to issue him one in the first place. He can seek out his own account. We can't enforce our policy against him. I don't believe he should sit on our account. We also couldn't enforce our policy against the highway department. I don't believe, as much as I love you, Bob, that you should have the same account as well. Yes,
Well,
there's
actually, there is a big difference between the highway department and the assessor. The assessor falls under the town funds and the highway department does not.
right.
Because I levy.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have a lot more control over the assessor than you do the highway department.
We have control over his budget, we have control over the levy, we have control over his salary and any temporary appointee to his position in the event that he's unable to fulfill that duty. We can't restrict him from using a credit card specifically in the operation of his office, is my understanding. We also don't have to provide that for his office. He is a entity unto himself in that regard.
As long as we're talking about it, I did print up actual copies of the statutes that he quoted or misquoted for you to look at.
Just for the record,
Pass it around.
I also attended,
It's like a packet to you.
Oh, it's like a packet.
So that's Lisa's, that's Bill's,
Okay.
and this is yours.
I
Sorry,
also
didn't mean to do it that way.
did attend, to the same conference that discussed the policy, and had the same concerns regarding, our current policy. And this is not the first time that we've discussed credit card. We've discussed it in the past. We did talk about, the credit card for, the highway department, and realized that because they do, levy, and they have some legitimate issues, that we understood that those were things that we need to take into consideration. We did, collectively and also individually talk to other townships that did not have any credit cards. How did they do business? There are vast differences between townships. There are some townships that don't even have buildings, so there is a consideration. I was also quite taken back by the assessor's email, and it has been all the concerns that they brought up regarding the potential abuses for credit cards, even very innocent ones. They brought up a story about a township supervisor whose son went in and actually took his credit card, and any of you that have older children knows that potentially that could always happen in any family, and that that is a potential problem, put the township in potential problems. And they told tons of stories like that. So I also did attend and supporting a drastic change in our,
So I have decided that our credit card will only be used under emergencies. Once we have a policy in place, I will follow the policy. But yes, I agree, stamps in need, we shouldn't be, rushing around searching the bottoms of our purses looking for extra stamps if it comes before the end of the month. Okay? All right.
Generally, I'd ask, A copy of the policy has been provided, the draft ordinance has been provided to everybody, including our attorney, for review. I would like to try and get some feedback to, if you guys wanted to send your thoughts to me, we can forward those on to the attorney, send them directly to the attorney, so that we can come up with a comprehensive policy that we might be able to agree on before the end of this year.
Sure, I agree, okay.
In the meantime, we did vote at the last meeting, well, not voted, but Lisa said you were, Lisa reported that she was, or Supervisor Rush reported that she was confiscating
Yes, when I went in there, I was told no. I couldn't confiscate it.
by the assessor.
Yes. And the same reasons he gave you in his email.
Did you want mine?
No, you can keep yours. Can't, we're gonna put a policy in place, but I'm not taking away
That's-
because then he's
and
not
that's
going to be
the-
able to.
Well, that's the other question I have, is it, off the top of your head, is it your recommendation, Gary, that I go out and seek my own for the highway department since I levy?
No, I think that as long as you have a policy that we have a policy that you agree with, I think that, you know, they
So
still
we-
audit the bills here anyways.
So we need to come up with a clause that explains what emergency what would fall under emergency. And also, well, the next item is about prepaid bills, we need to pull it out of prepaid bills.
The only thing, if you pull it out of prepaid bills,
Is interest.
it's late fees. The credit card that we currently have charges late fees if it's 1 day late. And if our meeting date is never the same date every single month. And we've already moved the date 3 times, they won't let us move it again.
If that's a huge concern, our minimum payment on a credit card bill for any given
You
month to
cannot
avoid a
submit
late fee.
Okay, with the corporate credit cards, and I had the bookkeeper look into obtaining a different card when I called and found out this information I'm about to tell you. But if we do not pay the bill in full every single month, we also incur a late charge fee, a late card fee.
Well, you're only gonna use it for emergencies, so
Right,
maybe it'll
I
happen
understand.
once a year.
Well, if you buy,
When we have a
yeah.
tornado.
But, I mean, I haven't read I perused your document, I haven't read it in full. I think there should be a bucket for I mean, I wouldn't consider stamps an emergency.
Or
But
water.
I think, or water, well, in August, I would actually, however, I think there should be a bucket for things that are just logical and sensical, like water, like stamps, where we would all nod our head and say yes, and I think it should be audited very carefully, obviously. But I think there needs to be 2 buckets where we are able to use this with good discretion. And then I think have penalties spelled out. If discretion isn't used, there should be a penalty. But I think that you have to be able to buy stamps and move your business along. I think you have to be able to prepay a conference or an educational piece or something. I don't think it's very practical to do business without some kind of electronic payment form. So I think that those thoughts should be
Yeah,
included.
and we couldn't use
In
it
our
like
definition.
electronic checks, cause that would be the same exact thing, doing it that way as well.
Right. So
So,
I think there should be a way to do as a prepaid.
I mean, and I hope I have been showing you for the past several months that we are not using the credit card just, willy-nilly. And you said not, that stamps, last month you said stamps were not an emergency because you would know when you're running out of stamps, so I didn't put stamps on the credit card, and that's per the board, so.
I don't remember that part of the conversation.
That's part of it,
I
because
don't disagree, I'm just saying, I don't remember that. I think
it
that
was
there.
either this month or last month or the month before. So I didn't.
Thank you.
I didn't, so, emergency, done. Okay,
So, what, moving forward, so
we
we're
will go
reviewing.
through, we will review Chris's policy, and, at our committee of the whole meeting, we will continue the discussion, and see if there's any changes that need to be made and modified, and then we can move forward, okay? Until then, I'm not going to use the card for anything that's not an emergency. Okay?
But I just have to say, I don't think that the objection that we're having has been anything that you have used the card for, or even that Bob has used the card for. That's not the objection.
No, I
Though
don't think
that doesn't
so. Or even the
negate,
assessor, I think it's,
Prior,
we're trying to prevent something to happen.
right.
I agree.
we've had some prior information.
I don't wanna, I have a 14-year-old, and I don't wanna spend any time in jail, so I'm not going to use the card illegally. Okay?
But, so,
Right. Next is prepaid bills, and you have a list.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Here's my list.
Is that in your packet?
Yeah, it should be in here.
Is that in the packet?
Yes. Where's that big packet? Oh, I took mine apart, so now I can't find it. But it's a nice list. It was put together by the highway department, the town, and we went through, do you have that in there?
I'm looking, I didn't take mine apart.
Towards the beginning.
Oh, it is.
Okay, I
And
thought it was
there,
for the end of the
No,
other,
it's-
but, okay.
All 4 or 5 sheets.
Oh, okay, thank you.
In the front or the back?
Front. Right? Well,
Gotcha.
I believe it's the front.
I'm trying to.
Oh, yeah, it is like the third page.
Yes.
No, I can't find it. Thank you. All right.
Not a problem.
So, currently, under liabilities, which is pretty much payroll, it's all payroll. Under it's, taxes where we have to pay IMRF, AFLAC, deferred compensation, which is an insurance, unemployment insurance, those are liabilities. Under town, we have salaries, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta Dental, principal, our life insurance, our electric bill, our gas bill, and our internet bill. I will let you know that those 3 bills, especially NICOR, we've also moved the date 4 times. We are now Xed that we can no longer change the date to be paid on that. Then the credit card is on there, the Voyager fuel card is on there, our garbage bill is on there, and our water and sewer bi-monthly is on there. General assistance, all approved requests, because it needs to be on there.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Next, under highway, we have salaries, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta Dental, Principal Health, ComEd, NICOR, Comcast, the credit card, Group Monthly, Village of Haynesville, Village of Round Lake Park. I will tell you that in the past, if we paid Village of Round Lake Park late, I believe, because of the date thing again. And they do charge us the late fees if we pay them late, so I believe everything listed on here is our bills that are paid between the board meetings. Do you have any questions about any of those?
So the Voyager fuel card, isn't that highway?
We also use it no, not in the assessor's office, we use it in the
Assessor's probably, because they got their Jeep running around.
Jeep.
So Friday's assessor's office uses.
The bus uses it, but does it come under yours, or does it come under,
We have a fleet card?
yeah, the Voyager,
Fuel?
the fuel, yeah. That's what we use to fill the bus up.
Right, yeah, that comes out.
The bus and the
Oh, the
van for
bus.
we also pay for the gas for the van for the food pantry.
Oh, I
The
forgot about that.
assessor's, card for gas is Thornton, and it's not on.
That's Voyager fuel card, it
Is
means you
that
can.
the same thing as
Yes,
Thornton?
yeah, Voyager fuel will let you use it at various,
There's about a half a dozen, probably 6, maybe 10 different gas.
oh yeah, there's a lot more, I
It's a
just
fleet-
got the
it's a-
list today
call it
for
a
the
fleet
fleet
card.
cards, yeah.
Now, who pays for the gas for the?
We do in town, you don't, I'm sorry, it's not under you.
For the,
But we actually pay under town for the bus, cause it's paid under the Voyager fleet.
I thought Suzanne has our card for that.
I will look to see if that's the case, but,
This
I
is
know.
good to know, there's cards
Well,
that are made.
when I've seen the bill, they've got all this,
yeah, the
Bob does a
receipts.
great job, his office does, when the
Receipts, yeah.
receipts are there and stuff.
Yeah, the receipts
I know,
are there,
yeah.
we all have our own PIN numbers, so I can look at any receipt and I know who's pumping the gas and when and
Yeah.
where.
And I believe on our end, basically, it's the Jeep and the van, and
Yeah,
the food
gas
pantry
for
van.
a lawnmower or something like that.
It might be under that as well, yeah, I agree. I think you're correct on that one.
Yeah, because they usually pipe down there for it.
Yep. All right, so those are the only things that we use. I don't see anything, that would be something that we'd not be able to pay.
The First Midwest credit card.
Okay, but once again, if you wanna incur a $20 charge each month, what if it's something that you approved for payments prior?
The problem is that according to what I learned in my session, statute does not allow this. That's what they said, the statute does not allow this payment under prepaid. There's a list of potential prepaid.
Which one?
And that is
I've
not
actually,
credit
I've actually
card.
passed out that statute for you guys to look at. It's,
Is this in the packet?
one that starts off with 60 ILCS.
Does it say that we can't?
Well, it's not,
Of course, it's grayly written.
no, it's the stuff that's underlined and bolded there. It's the last line that I don't have underlined, that the board may meet at other times as they determine, the township board may consider and approve bills individually or in a summary statement
So if
of any
we,
number of bills. That's the area here that we're talking about. The other area is where the list comes from, the general assistance and basically the wages.
okay, so if we had a credit card bill and there was water or stamps on it and it was due on, what's today's date, the 17th, and it was due on the 15th, okay, of the month, and if we didn't get it into them by the 15th of the month, would we have to have a meeting before that in order to just approve that one bill?
Well, I think when we talked about this, back when we talked about pre-approving the credit card bill, that I didn't think we should pre-approve it in the first place. Because it really doesn't fit into this little statute. You know, the utilities, you could always, because utilities
Right,
are, you know, the board could pre-approve those in
because
general.
they have to, right.
But the credit card, because the expenditures are different every month, that you can't really do that like this.
All right, I'll take it off, but,
One of the things they talked about in the session I attended regarding that is that, exactly what you said about those bills that are standard, that are the same, grab gas, those are ones that you can authorize. They're not on the prepaid. What you do is you authorize the supervisor to prepay them. So they're not on the prepaid bills.
you just authorize
Ask
them.
you to pay them.
Okay,
That's why I asked about the per diem when you were talking about those checks that were issued that were approved last month, is that they're not really prepaid because you paid them after they were approved.
so what we need to do is authorize the supervisor to prepay the credit card bill if it's reasonable?
And then you show them under the regular bills,
Yes.
Okay.
but that you had already sent the check out for them.
Okay, so that we didn't incur any
Right.
interest or charges.
But now the credit card bill doesn't fall under that same category
That's right.
because it's in its own little special area.
Okay.
And I'm glad when what I learned matches what you said, that always makes me very excited. So, but that was part of that was exactly part of the discussion, you know, that what do you do and with that, so that will work with all those other bills. The only thing would be the credit card bill, and you cannot do, you cannot, you could authorize the supervisor to pay it, but how do you authorize them is a question for Attorney Needs. How do you authorize the supervisor to pay a bill that you don't know what's in the what's on the bill?
Right, go ahead.
I was gonna say to that end, because I gave everybody more homework, this is a copy of a prepaid debt policy. Again, pulled from other township resources, meets up exactly with what the two of you were saying, is that we can authorize in advance the payment of certain accounts that could interrupt the service or the ability for the township to provide services if they weren't paid on a timely basis.
Or that would cause us to
Encourage.
Charges.
And basically what it says is that the Board of Trustees may authorize for a term not to exceed a year, any particular vendor to allow the supervisor to pay the bill in advance of the audit process. Meaning you can disperse the funds before the audit, we're on the hook if there's a problem.
Now, let's say that in the policy, and I haven't read your policy yet, let's say that she decides that she has to pay the credit card bill before the meeting. You could include in the policy that she's gotta send it out to everybody, that this is what was paid, this is what's on the statement.
Do that, yeah.
I mean, but those are the types of things that
Would
you
that
would
be,
include.
would that be in violation of OMA, letting them know that I'm doing this?
No,
No,
Okay, all right, that's the way we'll do it then.
No.
Okay,
But
no
you
problem.
can't-
they just have to
Reply all.
respond one on one,
Okay, sure.
not reply all.
and, yeah, we can talk about that too, my suggestion to to the other email that wanted this one, was that if you blind copied everybody, it's impossible for people to hit reply all and to violate the Open Meetings Act, although I wouldn't suggest this type of thing anyways, but, setting that out though is kind of part of your obligation
Okay,
as a supervisor, especially if you're gonna pay the bill in accordance with the policy.
okay, that's fine, I have no problem with that. All right, credit card policy being made?
The only question I then have is, it still doesn't address the potential, of someone that had a credit card to say, you have, trustees, you have no authority to tell me when, how, or what I can use it, you just have to give me a credit card so I can use it. So
We
that's
do
a whole
have, we
ballgame.
do have a partial authority where we can reject any
I
credit
don't
card debt
object
that
you have
exceeds the
authority.
budget.
You do have the authority, I mean, you have my full
We-
support, but.
There are
not
certain
that
authorities
I don't
we-
vote, but
There's certain authorities we can execute and certain ones that we can't. And I think,
What
you
I
know, our
would do
attorneys
before
pointed out
even,
before that
what I
we-
would do before even before submitting the check is to let you know, here is the credit card bill, here's a copy of the credit card bill that came in. I will be paying this on this specific date. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Well, and you can make all the holders of the credit card sign their adherence to the policy too.
Right.
Even the assessor,
Okay,
And the highway commissioner,
the highway commissioner too, although he, like he pointed out,
he could
he
give
kind of
us,
falls under a little bit different category, but I don't think there's gonna be any problems.
okay, no, I don't think there will be either. All right, I don't have a problem with that. So we'll take it off prepaid, and it'll be, we'll put the policy together, and it will also be on the, maybe it will be. All right. Where did I go? Some of the other things. Here we go. Okay, discussion and approval of the survey. Kathy has done a wonderful job putting this together, and I did voice a concern about one item. However, after discussing it with my staff, we're going to leave it on there. No problems with that. Okay, it was the only other thing I was kind of concerned about. Here, you didn't get a copy of the survey? She emailed it out to
I
everybody.
looked at
I
it.
don't have a hard copy.
Okay, we'll get you a hard copy. One of the concerns I had was this very meeting room, was on here. And I didn't know if it should be on here, cause it might get an influx of people wanting to use the room. And it's the schedule is a little bit filled up for this, so after discussing it with staff, it's fine, put it on there. If we get people calling, we can discuss with them, so no problems. So I think it looks good.
And that was a good conversation to bring that up, because it is something that's used very often here, like 3/4 of the time, this room is booked. But some people don't even know we have a meeting room. So there's an educational piece to the survey. We list everything that we
Right.
do
I
in the
agree.
survey. So it's the reader will learn what we do, and then if we get a response that like a gazillion nonprofits needs meeting space, maybe that's one of the things we need to charge our board with, is figure out how to answer that need.
Okay, all right. No problem with that.
So it becomes an action plan.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions about the survey? And how would you like to distribute this, Kathy?
That's the next part of the project.
Okay, all right, we will work on that. I would love to put it in SurveyMonkey, and put it on our website. So we can do that. We can do, here's another thing we can do is the water, I know the Round Lake Beach water bill, is nice jam-packed. We can always see if that's something that we can, if we pay to put it in the bill, it goes out every other month, then, if we pay for the copies of it to put it in the bill, then maybe they'll let us do that. That is the only village I know of, because that's the only water bill I get, so.
Haynesville still mails theirs out on a monthly basis, along with their newsletters already.
Monthly or,
Monthly with the newsletter.
mine
Yep.
comes out every other month.
Round Lake mails theirs too, but I don't know.
They just send
It
a
comes from a
postcard.
village, I think, no, it comes in an envelope, but it may come from a private vendor.
Yeah, see, our village, it's the village, so,
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Village of. It says Village of Round Lake Beach on there.
Mine says Village of Raleigh, too, but it may come from like the vendor
Okay.
and not from the village itself.
All right, so those are things that we can work on as well. But very good job,
Contact the mayors, see how they.
yes,
Mhm.
that's what I'll do.
But this still needs to be formatted better,
No,
this is
yeah,
just a
you
real.
know.
Yeah,
Okay, I
I
just.
That might assume, because
I
you're so
actually-
particular.
yeah, I think it look, actually, and when we put it on, and when we put it on Survey Monkey, it'll be easy to do as well, so.
The content is great, it's an excellent,
Yes, content is absolutely wonderful, so
excellent work.
I know that this has been a true labor for you, labor of love kind of, so I appreciate that.
I did talk to someone from Wheeling Township at the conference, and they have a beautiful newsletter, but of course, they're a huge township, but they also started with a survey too, so I have contacts there. They use their foundation. There's a foundation, I'm not sure exactly how their foundation is set up, but they can use their foundation for nonprofit postage.
Okay. All right. Must be something we can look into.
Do we need an approval for the survey?
We do need an approval for the survey too, an approval of the draft of the survey to move forward with the survey.
I motion.
Thank you.
Second,
Great. Trustee McNeil,
Aye.
trustee Larson,
aye.
trustee DeBro,
Aye.
trustee Delmar,
Aye.
and supervisor Rush.
Aye. Okay, the next thing we have are our two levies. I have included a memo with mine,
This is the estimate of the levy.
the estimate of the levy, right, because this is the estimate of the levy. We have both the town and the road and bridge.
This is, sorry, September.
I am recommending, that we, levy for 665, which would represent a 3.6% decrease. And that is because currently we have a large, our reserves are just raising, they're not going down. So, I think, in the town half of it, I think we should
Yeah.
decrease ours. We levied for $690 in 2013, and the Lake County Treasurer extended the township $696,000, which just added more to the corporate funds, gave them some more money.
So our extension was 690.
Six. Our levy, we had levied for $690 and no extensions. Okay.
696, 438, and 31 for
Yep.
the county.
Yep, 96, 439, 31.
Can I keep this?
Yeah. You have enough time? All right. So that is my suggestion. Are there any questions on that? I know Chris had some concerns, so Chris, go for it.
Okay, I too had an opinion on the levy. I provided all of you with a rather comprehensive statement, and after doing a little bit more homework, I struggle with the reduction of the levy here in Avon Township. Our levy has been brought down to a, what I would call unsustainable level. I'm not a fan of taxing people, please don't get me wrong. I hate doing it with my homeowners association every year, even if it's a % or two. I hate doing it here, but just looking at, between the equalized assessed value declinations over the last few years and those expecting to continue to drop, us carrying a surplus of 18 months right now, reducing that is absolutely the right way to do this, but to use the old phrase, to cut off your nose to spite your face is a really bad idea. Every time that we reduce our levy, we minimize our ability to recapture that in the future. You know, just looking at our budget from this fiscal year, the amount that, you know, is being recommended that we levy is barely enough to cover only the salaries for the town assessors and GA's funds. That leaves us with everything else coming out of our reserves, which is, honestly, is an irresponsible financial practice for long-term viability. I don't disagree with reducing the tax burden on residents again this year. In that regards, I think you and I both agree, Supervisor Rush. My suggestion would be, rather than to reduce our levy and reduce the ability to capture those funds in better economic times when we can afford to provide different types of support, would be to consider a tax abatement for this year, which would mean we would levy the maximum amount that we're capable of, but abate down to the level of $665,000 that you're recommending. I think it's two different practices to get to the same number. I think one just protects our longer-term interests as a township overall.
Yeah, but we levied 690 and they gave us 696 last time.
And you go the opposite.
Yeah, they go the opposite.
Plus or minus, we also levied, you know, the levies between the corporate and the GA funds are completely different from what we actually asked for. We asked for 550 for corporate and we got significantly less. We asked for 140 in GA and got a little bit more. So they kind of evened out across the two of them. But really, if we're spending 124,000 of the 140,000 in GA just on salaries alone, that's salaries, compensation, retirement plans, insurance, all that stuff, it leaves us really $16,000 to provide to the residents of Avon Township. And that is not the purpose of our general assistance fund, to take all of it, pay the salaries of a few, and give a tiny pittance to whoever's left over. You know, we could certainly involve ourselves in projects that were better than just paying salaries if we extend the amount in the future. Again, we have, last year, you know, the levy was for 550,000 for corporate, and we budgeted 553 for salaries and compensation, which means every expenditure down to every drop of water that goes through the sewers lines here, and it's an $8 bill, comes out of our reserves. In the short term, that does burn us down from 18 to 12 months or 6 months, which is protected. But in the long term, once we've hit that level, it's not sustainable. And we can't continue to do business. We can't continue to employ, you know, necessary resources to be able to support the residents, because the money won't be there to even do that. And that's just my counter argument. It's not that I want to raise taxes by any means, but we can't be unsustainable here.
Do you have any other discussion on this? Bill?
Well, Chris brings up a lot of good points. Been down that road once before with levies and they cut. And then pretty soon, I kinda like his idea, I don't know how that works totally, but pretty soon you're down so low that you can't get the money back fast enough to provide the services, cause you got that tax cap and stuff. And I'm not quite so sure how that works, Chris, if you're talking about abating taxes later on.
Jerry can explain it.
But he's on the right track. I mean, I don't wanna tax more than we need anyway, but I don't wanna get this situation in, cause I've been there before, I've been on this board a long time. I was down there where we only had probably 6 months reserves. And that's not pretty. And so, but through people watching what we spend, we're very comfortable. I would like to see it maybe come down a little bit, but we could be spending more on GA. On top of the GA, I still don't think that's right for 4 or 5 years, that's doing right. I would like to ask the auditor, I don't think we can take as much money out of the salaries, out of that GA, that we are taking out of there. The previous supervisor thought that was the way to do it. I always thought that was, you had to prove that you were doing GA work to take the salaries out. And we always took a percentage of the GA salaries out of there, and then some came out of town. Now it seems like everyone's getting paid out of GA. I don't think that's right, but I'm not the auditor, and it's been going through the audit, so maybe Jerry can look into that too.
Well, we've had those discussions before
Right.
about specific employees and, you know, where their salaries were coming from.
Right, and other towns, I don't think do it that way, but yeah, I don't wanna get this where we'll be maybe, not next year, but maybe 2-3 years from now, and we spent our errands. And that's what gets me, I look at my little soapbox too. What's wrong with what's wrong with having too much money? God, what, the state of Illinois, don't they have too much money right now? I mean, I'm sorry, the villages have good money, they got surpluses, Avon Township has a surplus. That's because people running this township and villages do a good job. They watch what they spend. You don't, like I used to fight with a former trustee here about the budget. Well, you must have planned on spending it because it's in the budget. No, put in the budget in case we need it. I never plan on spending the whole budget. If we don't need to spend it, we ain't gonna spend it. Obviously, the state of Illinois people down there don't look the same way I think. But that's my little soapbox. I don't understand why having a little extra money is bad. I mean, yeah, there's people out there hurting, but we gotta watch ourselves here a little bit too. And yeah, we have a little extra money, which is nice. I like that feeling, because I've personally been on the other side where we didn't have any extra money around. And it's not fun.
Okay, but walking door to door, what was the one thing you heard the most?
I didn't really hear too much gripes about it.
What is Avon Township?
And the other thing is property taxes. Can you make my property tax bill go down?
I agree.
I can explain what Chris was saying too about the limiting rate and the abatement. What he was saying was, that, let's say, and I don't remember what figure he used, let's say that we levied for,
708.
well, I'm just gonna use this example, let's say we levied for the same amount that we received for an extension last year. And after we do that, we have to pass that by the last Tuesday in December and get it filed by the last Tuesday in December. Sometime prior to March 15th, we can tell the clerk's office that, no, we only want you to collect 500,000, we don't want you to collect all 700,000 of it. Well, what that'll do is that'll preserve that levy number for us for future years, so the limiting rate isn't ever affected. It's as if they would have collected the 700,000, but they're only gonna collect the 500,000 like we asked them to, so. Property taxes, you know, you as an individual property owner will only pay whatever your share is for the 500,000 as prorated down. But as the township next year, let's say that we decide that you decide that you need the extra money or need the full extension, well, you're not hurt by the reduction this year because it would be as if you would have asked for the 700, received the $700,000.
And that does make more sense, because it protects you from that cap. That, if I'm listening to you right, it kind of protects that number a little bit.
The limiting rate it does, yes.
Right.
We talk about all, and we've talked about it here, and the service that we give to the community, and Douglas touched on it as well. And we're constantly talking about it, you know, not duplicating services. I don't think anybody can say that the area that we represent is a flush with services. And what we need is we need to make sure that we're supporting our community in what the statute allows us to support them. And what we heard all of the time when we were walking is not knowing what the township does, and that there still is a great amount of need. You only have to walk through some of the neighborhoods and see the amount of homes that are foreclosed, the amount of people that are being still displaced, and the amount of people that are still hurting. And that's my concern, that if we cut the budget, that we're going to cut the levy in the face of people that are complaining about property taxes. And our piece of the property taxes is so minute that they don't understand that all of the cutting, for instance, all of the cutting that was done in the past lent itself to very minimal changes in their actual property taxes. We'd be better off, in my opinion, to levy the amount that we have, not increase, but levy the amount that we have, abate it, so that we make sure that we can do what we need to do and do more, because we need to do more.
Okay, so we do not know why we got $6,500 more from the county. We had, at Toya, we had an example of a township that their taxes came in $300,000 below what they were expecting. So we might have this little surprise, we might get a big surprise the other way too. So that's why you have to be careful.
Well, typically you don't see.
Yeah, and our past
I'm gonna have to look
practice
into
has
this.
been
You don't usually get any more than what you ask for.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have to look into that.
why we got more?
Might have been something left over from the previous year or something, they found.
Well, that wouldn't be included under the 2012 extension, so we'll find out.
Gosh darn those clerks, they make mistakes.
Then we may have to give it back, maybe we're not.
All right, so what is the board's opinion?
I support Chris's proposal.
We have until,
We have to do this kind of quick.
well, we have another meeting, that's filed by December, what, 20th or something?
24th.
24th.
You have to do the estimate 20 days before you pass the
Right,
levy.
so
So
it has to be
this-
by
we gotta
December.
we gotta get the estimate out now.
This is the last
so it's
one,
on.
right.
This is the estimate, this is
The
not the binding
estimate.
ordinance.
This is that,
What you do is you put it out there for them to,
well, no, if you guys decide that you're not beyond that 105%, you don't have to do the truth in taxation hearing.
okay,
You just put it on the agenda next month as, tax levy ordinance for 2013, and you can pass it as long as you're doing it prior to the last Tuesday in December.
all right, so do we wanna leave it the same as as it's listed, as we were extended? Or do you wanna go up to the $708,000?
I'm personally a fan of increasing it and then abating it down to your recommended level,
Down to my recommended level?
which is 665, but doing that through abatement rather than reduction.
And the abatement wouldn't happen this month for sure, it's gotta be on the agenda, and I send you a copy of the ordinance ahead of time. A little more complicated, as long as you do it before March 15th.
All right, well then you're gonna have to help me, cause I figured this one out, so now you're gonna have to help me.
Well, Chris, you've done the numbers on it, haven't you?
Yeah, so what we would do is we would first pass the ordinance for, if we were to do this, we would pass the ordinance for whatever the levy amount we decide on tonight is. Then we would follow that up with a separate ordinance later that is it's an abatement ordinance where we specify a number. If we were to use the $708,000
How
number,
did you come up with 708?
1.7%, which is our tax limit for this year.
Well, let's start with the resolution that we're going to adopt tonight is the $708,000. That represents a 1.7 increase over last year, which means we're less than 105%.
Correct.
So you don't need a truth in taxation hearing, it's our first,
Okay,
The first hurdle.
yes. So that's what the resolution will say.
and then, okay,
There's two areas where that goes into the first paragraph and the fourth paragraph.
and then,
So do each one individually.
I did that.
No, vote on this one before
Okay.
we go on to the other one.
All right, so we're voting to set the levy for $708,000. This represents a 1.7% increase over the previous year. And we will do the resolution to abate down to the 665
Well, you could decide on that.
at the same time.
But that's not included in this resolution. This
No, okay.
resolution is
Just
just
the
estimating the
Tax levy.
levy. That's-
So we would do the abate at the next meeting? Is
You
that what you're
could,
saying?
anytime before March 15th. I just wanna make sure it's clear that we're not doing it tonight.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
And we may be higher or maybe below your 660. We'll have to just kind of see, by then we'll kind of have a feel of what's,
Great,
and we'll have a feel, Chris should, our assessor should have a little better feel on what the equal assessed valuation is gonna be too.
You should do that.
so,
Should they?
in the fourth paragraph, it says, the proposed corporate and special purpose property taxes to be levied for 2013 are $708,000, and this represents a 1.7% increase over the previous year. Do I get a motion to approve that?
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
Trustee Delmar. Aye. Trustee McNeil.
Aye.
Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee DeGrove,
Aye.
Supervisor Rush.
I want it in the record that I completely 100% don't think we need an increase, and that this could come back to bite us, but I'm going to say aye.
Thank you.
We'll already, so we abate it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was
it's not feeling good right now. All right, now we have Bob's. Bob's is, whereas the general road fund, corporate and special purpose property taxes extended and abated for 2012 were $72,762.21. The proposed corporate and special purpose property taxes to be levied for 2013 are $75,672.70. This represents a 4.9% increase over the previous year. Whereas the permanent road fund, corporate and special purpose property taxes extended and abated for 2012 were $862,751.94. The proposed corporate and special purpose property taxes to be levied for 2013 are $875,744.30. This represents a 1.5 increase over the previous year. Whereas the total property taxes, I already read that part.
No, the total is both funds combined, because that's.
The 951,
Yeah,
okay, 951,417. This represents a 1.7% increase over the previous year. I have to retype this too. Stickler for spaces in between words. Are there any discussions for this one?
I would, you know, if you're, I know everybody's probably wondering, why the increase. I think road and bridge probably speaks for itself.
Yeah, it was greatly lowered.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the budget amount for this year, you know, you look at that levy for road and bridge, but remember that out of that 75 or whatever it is, this year it was 72 we levied for. You know, what we ended up getting out of the township this year was, right now I think we're at 31, somewhere around there. The villages get a portion of road and bridge, so we're budgeted this year for 35,000, so we do not see 75, we see somewhere around $35,000. Each village gets a portion of road and bridge.
And last year you had to make up, you had to make up some money.
We had to make
Paid
up,
for
right,
it
that
for
came out of contingencies, but just so you see, you know, our total budget, our total revenue budget for this year for road and bridge was 53.7. We're already running in the red on that. I think, what was the number, Chris? It was
35,000.
35,000. Yeah, we're gonna be way in the red on the road and bridge. We do have reserve, I'm not arguing that. We have probably 300,000 or so, but if you'll take note, two of the big items that are in the budget for road and bridge and capital outlay are building and equipment. You know, if we have a truck that goes bad, Bill knows how much trucks cost. You know, one truck is gonna cripple that, our reserve. And next year, we're looking at, the roof on the township garage now is leaking. It's 40 years, it's 72, yeah, it's 4 years, over 4 years old now. It leaks when it rains. It's gonna have to be dealt with next year. So we have issues, and those are line items that can't be moved to permanent road. That is a road and bridge line item. This fund, road and bridge, right now as it stands, even with this small amount here, when we look at what we're increasing it by, we're talking about $3,700 or so. And that's not including what goes over to the villages, so. I'm not asking for a lot here, but I'm gonna have to maybe slowly build this back up. This road bridge can't sustain itself. It absolutely cannot. I don't know. This fund right now is in a bad way because, like I say, I have an aging fleet right now. We have trucks that are, I have a 13-year-old truck, I have a 11-year-old truck. We maintain them real well, and so we run them a long time, but the time's gonna come. And one truck, you know, be it small, be it large, it doesn't matter, you know, equipped is well over $100,000. It's just the way it is right now for a 5-yard truck. They run $125,000 right now. So this road and bridge is, just so you guys know, this road and bridge is in a danger zone right now. We do have the reserve right now, like I say, but it can't sustain itself, so. So that's, I don't, that's where it's at. I mean,
Bob, just for technicality on this, I read, it says general road fund, should that say road and bridge? Because we got listed road and bridge here, and in your
I think-
resolution, it says general road
I
fund.
think it's considered both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I just was, I'm trying to clarify that.
And then on the, I can elaborate on the permanent hard road too, the same thing. You'll see our budget revenue for this year of $1,140,000. That line where 406 shows a miscellaneous grants of 185. I don't know where that line came, I don't know where that number came from, but it's not anything we're seeing this year. There's no $185,000 grants. We had a $75,000 DCO grant for Highland Lake, and that was it. So the 185 you can just take right off. So permanent hard road isn't a lot more healthier right now, but again, this is another fund that it eats into reserves every year, so it'll continue to do so. I'm not worried about it at this point, but I am deeply worried about road and bridge. So, that's where I'm at.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the resolution number 151118 RB?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Trustee DeGrove?
Aye.
Trustee Delmar? Aye. Trustee McNeil?
Aye.
Trustee Larson?
Aye.
Supervisor Rush?
Next on the agenda, we have, oh, I keep moving it around. We have old business. Is there any old business that needs to be discussed? I think we've discussed most of the old business. Is there anything else? What about any new business?
I have one thing that came up at Toya, you're gonna be so happy. We mentioned Dixon and the debacle of all those lost funds. It was because of mail policy.
Did that answer your question?
That clerk always opened the mail, and so she always had that check. So I would like to revisit the supervisor's policy on how to handle mail in your office. It's my understanding that only you can open your mail.
That says my name on it.
Oh, I was under the understanding that.
They
it
can
was
open
only-
everything else. The only thing I ask them not to open is anything that particularly just says addressed directly to me.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No, because that would mean that, if I was gone for a day or two, that bills wouldn't get open, so that is definitely not. So, and if it appears to be important, they do contact me and tell me if I get something that looks important in an email, if something has come that they had to sign for and it was just addressed to me, they would call me and let me know. So.
Okay.
So, that's it. Any public participation on anything that has been said?
Yeah, I'm on the list from before. I just wanted to comment on Chris, and I do agree on the abatement, because when you submit your estimate, it is an estimate, and you won't know from the county clerk till February what your actual extension will be, so then you can adjust it. So I will wait till as late as you can before making that adjustment. But I would warn to say, I agree with you guys, and Supervisor Rush, I agree with you. It sounds like a tax increase, but it's not. I think what you really have to do, though, for everybody to say, we could understand what you're doing, is you need a strategic plan, because how are you gonna spend the money? We have Round Lake Park, who is very close to bankruptcy. They're trying to do economic development, they don't have the money. Could we help them? Yes, we could. Could we do them a grant for facades in the business district? We've talked about that during the campaign. That's being proactive. We have youth that are unemployed in the summer. We've talked about helping them. No, we're duplicating services. I don't want to hear that anymore, because that's the old regime. You guys are trying to do something different. We're not duplicating any services. We don't have enough services in the area. So if you want to justify collecting more taxes, please come up with a strategic plan where you can tell the mayors, we're gonna partner with you. What are your needs? Let's do grants. Tell us what you want to do with X amount of dollars. But if you don't do that, it's just business as usual. The reserves keep building. It's just rhetoric. As far as credit cards, I think Assessor Ditton has showed us he's not responsible with his credit card during the campaign, putting a newsletter on the credit card and then usurping the board and not coming back and asking us, hey, we want to do a newsletter, what's your input? You have to control that. If he wants a credit card, I would agree with you, let him sue us, because I guarantee you that when you tell the public what he wants to do, he should have never been elected to begin with, but that's a whole other issue. But he is an attorney, he knows how to use that credit card, and he chose not to use it responsibly. Let him sue the township and see how that goes for him. I just think that really credit cards need to be very limited to minimal, $500, and that's all, that's the limit you have on there, and everything else comes before you guys, because what they do is rubber stamp what we've already spent, and that takes away from your authority.
Okay, Doug, I'd like to address one of your comments, if I may. Pursuant to the corporate powers, I can respond if I choose. I did, in my report to the trustees regarding the levy, just so we're clear on what we're discussing, I did recommend that we seek out the development and execution of a comprehensive long-term plan as justification for future taxing. You know, there were capital projects that we had hoped to do this year because of a lack of grant funds did not get accomplished. It's probably a better way to burn down our reserves than just dropping our levies year after year. So my recommendation was along those lines, a long-term strategic plan as opposed to as the opportunities present themselves.
Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, possible litigation, and land acquisition?
Is there one specific purpose, or,
Yes,
I mean, just, I'd
Oh.
like to list out the purpose for.
possible litigation.
So moved.
A second?
I will second.
Trustee Larson,
Sorry, if I may, I would like to amend the motion to reference 5 ALCS 120/2C3 and 120/2C11. Do I need to state out the verbatim reasons behind those?
Yeah, just give the reason, that's why I asked the purpose, just give the reason why. I want to executive session.
One of those is in reference to possible or potential litigation. The other is to discuss the discipline or appointment of an official.
All right, you don't look at me, I just wanted to know why we're going into executive session.
So I guess I'll amend the motion for it, if that's what he wants.
then we'll go back to trustee Larson,
Aye.
as amended. Trustee DeGrove,
Aye.
trustee Delmar, trustee McNeil,
Aye.
supervisor Rush.
Aye.